Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we are covering a completely new thing. I've only actually really discovered this a few days ago. I hadn't really heard of this person called ACACIA, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. So ACACIA Kersey is what she's going by on her TikTok. Back in the day, she used to be a sort of Tumblr girl. She's kind of got that like aesthetic that has obviously still carried on from there. It kind of reminds me of kind of like e-girl vibes. If you know, like if you watch enough, which I have, I've been sat there just scrolling through a lot of her TikToks, you kind of get the idea. I don't really know like how to say this without having to then go into like a great big backstory into all the kind of stuff that she's done before, because I'm still learning. Although after having watched a few videos, after looking across TikTok, after reading her Reddit page, which I have become a member of now, I'm now looking at all the different things, there's a lot of really damning evidence against her. So ACACIA has found herself into some proper hot water recently because there was this TikTok that emerged of basically this sort of picnic set up next to this play park, and there was a small child with a diaper nappy on sat on top of a vehicle, and there was another child which was basically like right next to a road near a picnic blanket. Were they even on at this point? And it basically turns out that they were ACACIA's kids. And I'll just show you some imagery, this and that, but basically the mum, ACACIA, had gotten up and had decided to disappear into this little like foresty woods thing to go on her Nintendo DS or Switch or whatever the frick you call it. I'm not really into Nintendos. And basically just like document it. And then even when she was on the picnic blanket, she was just like constantly on the phone. And passerbyers did state that the people who were there were observing the fact that she wasn't really looking after her kids. Anyway, so to cut a long story short, this isn't new. So people have been very concerned about ACACIA's way of looking after her kids. Let's just say, like, but before I break down into how unbelievably dangerous that whole debacle is with the whole car, like her not even being there, the whole thing, which is absolutely outrageous, there are other reasonings as to why people think that she is bad news and that she has done things. And honestly, it only takes a really quick TikTok search or a really quick Reddit. Just go on the Reddit, have a little look at all the things that have come up. For instance, there was this whole debacle with the dog and the fact that, I'll let ACACIA explain a little bit of it.
Alright, I'm going to talk about this one time and one time only, because I'm so fucking tired of this story being talked about. Not that this is going to end the story being talked about, but at least there's some room in here for a voice to say something. And before people get at me for being passive aggressive or mad, I have the right to be, and I don't give a. So let's get into it. Okay, so I was working my job, which I did every Thursday night for 2 to 4 hours, and during that time my daughter was with my very capable ex-husband, and he was watching her. He was spending the evening with her like he did every Thursday night when I worked. And during that time, during my stream, I hear crying, well, actually everyone else can hear it before me because my noise canceling headphones. And they're like, hey, what's going on with the crying in the background? I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? And I take my headphones off, and I'm like, oh my god, there's crying in the background. So I go and check, even though I don't have to, because like I said, she's in the capable hands of her loving father, who's taking care of it. He was taking care of it. And I'm not in any rush because I know she's in capable hands. So once I get out there, because I'm curious about what happened and I need to check on her, he says, don't worry, I've got it all handled. You're good, just go back, because he knows I'm live during this time. And there's nothing I can do. I can't console her because he's consoling her. I can't hold her, he's holding her. There's nothing to put a Band-Aid on. There's no ice pack that I can get. There's nothing that I could do in this scenario because it was just an accident of my partner at the time playing with our dog and our dog accidentally backing up into our daughter. Unfortunate situation. No parent wants that to happen. Nobody wishes that to happen.
The way that I interpreted that was the fact that it sounded like the baby or whoever, like the baby was lying on the floor and he was playing with the dog, which is just so unbelievably dangerous. Like, I don't know the size of this dog, but by the way, go and watch Marky's video because he basically uncovers the fact that she also has a history of not really looking after her pets very well, but that is for another video. I'm not saying that's not important, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. ACACIA has actually responded to the backlash of the picnic leaving children fleeting away to a forest debacle. And there are no excuses for that, in my humble opinion. Aside from being extremely mentally ill, I can't think, and even that's not necessarily the greatest reasoning, because you would have thought you'd try and sort help unless it was like unless you were having like a breakdown. I can't understand why anyone would ever do that. And it's a kind of trend that people have been picking up on, such as the dog incident.
What else was I supposed to do?
There's imagery that I've seen of her with like a baby that was basically nearly had its face in the sand, and I'm not sure if it was taken from a video still or if it was a picture, but that is extremely dangerous. I feel like I don't even need to explain that. There's also another thing which I found on the Reddit thread as well, where one of their kids actually had open heart surgery, which of course would require a hell of a lot of rest after, but her and her ex-husband, I'm pretty sure, decided to go away camping only days later, and people were commenting on the fact that their kids look really unkept, etc, etc, etc. And the thing is that all of this as a collective paints the picture of a mum that, and I hate saying shit like this, but it paints a picture of a mum that either isn't all there in the fact that maybe she struggles a lot, or the fact that she doesn't actually really care, which is a very sad statement to make. But I think in a lot of these cases, from what I've seen of people saying on TikTok, the way that she manages to kind of turn it around and have an answer to people. Whenever any of this stuff has come out, she's always just gone on about her traumatic background and her traumatic childhood. And she actually said something, and I'll play it to you if I can find it, but she was basically saying how she felt like she didn't have a childhood or something like that, like she wasn't nurtured enough as a child. And I'm just gonna say this is like generational trauma, because if she's saying that she experienced that she wasn't wanted, or that she felt like she desired a parental figure but she never got it, I feel like she's doing generational, it's a cycle. She'll then do it to her kids, and at some point you gotta anyway.
Something that I think about a lot as someone that was a child of trauma is I had to find joy in the worst places, like in the worst times, in the worst scenarios, because I was a kid and I craved it, I needed it to survive, so I had to make it myself.
I feel like I'm rambling too much, but I hope you get the gist, because I'm just trying to say what I feel about the situation, because of course it has grown to be quite a big thing. And if you're new here, I cover like family vloggers, mummy vloggers, that kind of thing. But then also whenever anything big like this happens, like we've seen it in the past with quite a lot of other TikTok people, I'll always cover it and give it some time. And because they're a new person, and because, you know, you try and absorb as much information, I try and see things from all angles, but sometimes some people make it so hard for me to wrap my head around, because kind of like I was saying earlier, I was like, well, maybe she the only reason why I can imagine someone would leave their children in that kind of state, i.e. being on top of a car, the only possible reasoning I can imagine is if they were literally having a mental breakdown and they didn't realize what was happening. And they were, you know, a proper mental breakdown. That's the only thing I can imagine. But the thing is that this is like a pattern of behavior. I've just listed like a few things. This is literally a pattern of behavior. Instead of apologizing and owning, instead of doing that, what she's done is she's basically completely, you know, flipped it. I'm going to read it to you, but she basically blames it on her past. She doesn't even, I'm going to read it to you because it really did infuriate me. Trigger warning. DA, I'm not really here to explain or convince anyone where I've been mentally for the past 6 or so months, but I know that staying completely quiet doesn't work either. I have been dealing with ongoing DA due to addiction for years now. I thought after my separation it would have died down or go away completely, but has since only gotten worse. I have long passed my breaking point, and it was a struggle day to day to stay alive. I entered a constant state of dissociation, all while having no help. I was trying to manage it all on my own. A few weeks ago, I finally reached out for help, and now I just wish I had done it sooner. I worked with doctors and social workers, and I'm getting set up with programs and medication that help and support me while it's still active, and how to move forward after so I can show up and be there for the people that need me. Giving up is not an option, never will be. I understand that people won't fully grasp the situation and people's opinions of me are already formed. This is for those who are also fighting the same demons. There are programs out there to help. There are communities dedicated to supporting you. Help is available. And as for content creation, I will be slowing down for a bit while I get back on my feet, but I will never stop creating and try to spread joy. I am here to stay. DA from literally, like, you could either put that as like domestic abuse, but when I then type DA into like what does it mean in a medical sense, basically disassociating. So it's a disassociating, I'll put it up here, when you basically disassociate. Okay, so actually, since going on the Reddit thread, people are saying that she's talking about domestic abuse because they found this comment. Now, instead of dissociative amnesia, now, to me personally, that whole entire post would make zero sense if it was about domestic abuse. Like, if you reread it, if you have kind of, you know, the more dissociative amnesia in mind, it makes a lot more sense. However, that doesn't mean to say that that is not what she meant. Maybe she did mean domestic abuse. There supposedly has been allegations made about her ex-husband and things, which I've recently become privy to. Like, I'm aware of it now. So I'm not really sure which one I tend to believe. I tend to think she's talking about disassociating because it just makes more sense based on reading it. But it's such a vague post that I feel like it's up to interpretation. Although if she's saying that it's actually, I don't really know. I didn't see what the comments were before that. So maybe she was replying to a comment where people were asking what was it caused by, and then I don't really know, but I just thought I'd put that comment out there anyway. Thing is, it's like what I said at the very beginning. The thing is that I feel like this has become a pattern of behavior, and she's not addressed what she's actually done. She's not fully addressing it, and the fact that there has been numerous instances now, even from a short time frame of actually looking, where I feel like people should have stepped in and gone, no, like, she needs help. Because based on what a lot of other people say about her, this isn't new. She will turn it around and say, it's because of X, Y, and Z I have this problem. Like, good for her if she's needing to go and get help. But the problem is that people have been calling her out on this kind of stuff for a little while, and I feel like there's been no intervention, and I feel like that kind of stuff could have been heavily the thing that most shocked me was seeing that child on top of the car, and the fact that people, like eyewitnesses, were saying that she was just, you know, she wasn't very present, she just disappeared off. Like, there wasn't like an apology there, and I feel like even though she needs to say sorry to her kids in that aspect. And I think, I don't know, no one's ever to truly know like what is going on inside like people's heads and things. However, I am well aware that this lady has a very long withstanding, you know, she has a history of being a little bit like scammy and pretentious and like doing stuff not as extreme as this, but stuff to animals, like, you know, she has a history. So I feel like it's all too well and easy, you know, to throw out the whole I have this problem and but you just really should own up to it, because without there being something dramatic like this to happen, and without, you know, the whole internet talking about it, of what feels like the whole internet talking about it, she probably wouldn't have pulled this card of being like, oh, I'm going to go and get help. Like, is she really going to go and get help? Because to me, like I said initially, I think you have got to have some serious issues to do that to your own children. It hurt my mum heart. I was like, oh god, what is this? Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I also wanted to get, I might do another video on her as well, like based on the other stuff that I found out about her. If you want to send me anything like that, please let me know. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.
And we handled the situation. So that's really all there is to it.